the issue of the potential challenges, that, this tax reform bill may likely face, especially in its implementation. So how do you think this can be addressed?
Well, I let me even say that it's good that the bills have left the House now. We're waiting for concurrence, from the Senate. And if everything goes according to plan, the implementation should kick in by July, by the second half of the year. And as I said, it's also important to note that the contentious areas, have more or less been, addressed. And the moment these areas are addressed, I think the implementation will be smooth. If you recall, one of the contentious areas is also what he mentioned, the aspect he mentioned, the VAT. Okay, and the good news today is that as far as the VAT is concerned, it would appear that all the key stakeholders are on the same page. When I say key stakeholders, I recall that in January this year, the Nigerian Governors Forum, came up with a position on VAT, saying that they don't want VAT to be touched. Okay. The bill, Nigerian Tax Bill, Section 56 of the Nigerian Tax Bill, had proposed, gradual increase in VAT starting from 2025 this year. Mm-hmm. Okay, from 7.5% to 10% this year. Okay, 12.5% by 2026. And then 15% by 2030. That's the way the recommendation graduated, yes. But the Nigerian Governors Forum, in its wisdom, of course, remember, that was also what raised a lot of issues. Certain segments said no, they didn't want it. So the Nigerian Governors Forum said no, the rate should be retained at 7.5. House of Reps also, have that same position, okay? And I also remember that even during the public hearing, at the Senate, I went to make a presentation. I made a presentation on behalf of my association, Capital Market Academics of Nigeria. I think I was the third person that presented on that day. And I also shared the same opinion. I said that given the current situation of the country, the elevated inflation, and so on, that it wouldn't be in the interest of the economy to jack up the value-added tax rates now, okay? So that was the position of my association and many others. So now it would appear that that is settled. Okay. I don't think the Senate at the end of the day will also want to maintain that. So VAT is still going to be 7.5. In fact, there were even some people who even felt it should it should come down. But what is important is that it's going to be retained. Now, the other contentious aspect has to do with the sharing of the VAT. Yeah. Now, currently, VAT is collected by the Federal Inland Revenue Service. So once it is collected, the federal government takes 15%. The subnationals, states and local governments, take 85%. Okay? But what was recommended is that VAT is actually meant to be money for the states and local governments. Remember, it replaced sales tax. And sales tax originally was wholly that of the states. Okay, so it was meant to be for states, and that was why the committee recommended that let the states, subnationals, take the bulk of it. Instead of giving federal government 15%, let federal government also, give out 5% of its share. Mm-hmm. So the recommendation is that federal government should take 10%, maybe essentially to cover cost of collection, but let the bulk of it be enjoyed by the subnationals. Local governments. Yes, so that's what was recommended, and I think too that the House, has retained that. Okay, I don't think anybody is saying FG should take more, but the contentious aspect has to do with the horizontal distribution of the VAT. How it is now shared among the states. Yes. Okay, currently it is shared on the basis of where the tax is, the returns are filed, the headquarters. They are filed from the headquarters. So you hear of headquarters effect, right? Now, the recommendation is that it should be based more on the consumption. Okay, so currently the way it is shared is 20% is based on consumption. Okay, 50% is based on equality. Okay, and then 30% is based on population. Okay, that's the current sharing formula.
formula.
Yes, but the committee recommended that let it be, VAT is a consumption tax. So if you are sharing it, it should be based on consumption. So they gave more weight to consumption. Committee gave 60% to consumption, 20% population, 20% equality. Okay, but what has happened now is one of the aspects that the House amended. So the House is saying that 60% consumption is too high. So they have reduced it now to 30%. So it is now 30% consumption, okay, 50% equality of states, and 20% population. So that is what the House has passed. We are waiting for to know what the Senate will do. But the argument in favor of the consumption is that VAT is actually a consumption tax. And if it's a consumption tax, the sharing formula should also give attention or give more weight to consumption. I think that's the philosophy behind the 60%, thing. Yes. The other thing on VAT, I talked about the issue of it was a contentious issue, but I'm sure, as I said, that has been, resolved. Having to reduce the one that's meant for consumption from 60% to 30%.